It's 4:07. We'd like to start the Civil Service Commission, please.
I'll call it roll.
All right.
Chair Cantrell,
Present.
Vice Chair McLaughlin,
Present.
and Commissioner James Paul. James Paul. She had you back. She had you backward on here, so we have a quorum.
So we can start right away with public comment. Is there anyone present who would like to make a comment? Okay, let's move on. Approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any questions on the January 29th? I guess it was January 29th. January 29th Civil Service Commission meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Vice Chair McLaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Paul,
Yes.
Chair Cantrell.
Yes.
The motion carried 3-0.
Okay. And are we going to do the HR report? Okay, so the HR report, that was, should be before Gehring, right?
You have the HR report is item 6. You have the Gearing Group as presentation, item 5.
Oh, I'm sorry, I messed up. Thank you for correcting me on that, Mr. Gomez. Let's do are you guys okay to do the presentation? Because I do know that they're waiting online. Is that okay?
Yep.
Tom, are we okay to proceed with Gehring Group?
Yep, yeah, go ahead. If this is Janet or John, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm actually not Janet or John. I'm Kristen. I'm filling in. So I'm Kristen Viazar with the Gearing Group. I'm a senior consultant on the Human Capital Advisory team. So I wanted to go through the presentation with you to go over our methodology and our results for the comp study, and then be able to answer any questions you may
Doesn't
have.
sound like the mic's on, but.
Can you hear me okay?
No, we can't.
Oh, okay. Let me try something different.
I can hear from the phone, but the mic doesn't pick it up.
Try it now, Kristen.
Can you hear me better now?
Not yet.
Yeah. Yep.
Kristen, could you say something so we could try and hear you?
Oh, sure. Can you hear me?
Just by the phone. I don't hear it over the mic. Yeah, that's weird.
It's a smart mic. It only.
Would you like me to try to log on another way to the meeting?
It sounds like that might be coming across.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Oh, sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're going to have to just keep speaking if you don't mind just presenting, and we'll try to fix it on our end.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I can definitely do that. So I actually am not able to see your presentation slides, but I do have mine in front of me. So I can let you know when to advance to the next page, just because all I'm seeing is the commission. So we're going to start on the overview, which is page two of the slides. Essentially what we're going to review today is the methodology that we used for the project and our approach. We'll discuss the different findings that we had and maybe some more detailed information with those findings. We'll also go over our recommendation for your pay plan, along with the compression analysis, kind of where the organization would stand to implement our recommendation, how much that would cost budget-wise. In addition to that, we'll also let you know that the final financial impact based on the
Next
employees that are
page, Mr.
impacted
Gomez.
by the study,
Next page.
which, just to give you a heads up, at the forefront, you have 31 employees that will be affected by this study. So those numbers will basically show you how much it would be to implement the pay plan, the compression analysis, and therefore it would impact 31 employees and what that would bring to your budget come October 1. So with our methodology, essentially, we started with a kickoff meeting with your team. We went over our project goals, the scope of work for this project, along with the intended deliverables that we would have at the end of the study, which of course is what we're presenting to you today. We completed an assessment of your current pay plan. From there, we reviewed the job descriptions along with feedback from your employees. I do want to point out we did send surveys to your employees to gain feedback regarding their position and their essential functions. We sent it twice. We did get limited response, but it was still something that we did try to use in order to capture their information for the study. That being said, with that, we benchmarked 61 jobs, and with that benchmark, we used 14 entities. I'm going to discuss who those entities are. So you had Treasure Island, St. Pete Beach, South Pasadena, Dunedin, Seminole, as well as Bel Air Bluffs, Oldsmar, Newport Richey, Tarpon Springs, Pinellas County, Polk City, Safety Harbor, and Clearwater. You'll notice some of these entities are a little bit larger than yours. However, in order to be able to benchmark all the positions that you have, we did have to expand the scope of the entities that we were benchmarking with to cover the different titles and positions you do have in your agency.
Can I ask a question?
The next slide. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Who's the 14th entity?
Yes, go ahead.
Who's the 14th entity?
Oh, did I miss
There's
count?
13 listed.
Yeah, there's only 13 that are listed.
Oh, I apologize. Let me just check my notes. Maybe it just didn't.
Maybe it was
get
13. I thought
Alright. One moment, and I will pull that right up.
Is it us?
Maybe they meant 14
Is it Madeira?
total, including us.
Was it Madeira Beach? Because that's not there. Or 13 doesn't matter, but. Yeah.
I just have to open up one spreadsheet, so just give me one moment so I can pull that up for you.
I'm guessing they meant.
I apologize. It is only 13 entities that
Yeah.
were benchmarked. I apologize for the typo.
All right.
Good catch, though. Thank you for letting me know. So 13 entities that were benchmarked here. So basically, when benchmarking the entities, we review the 50th, the 65th, and the 75th percentile to see where your organization lands in pay with, with comparison to these other agencies. We'll review the final benchmarks. We reviewed that with your city manager and the assistant to the city manager to review the results. And then we also, from there, develop pay ranges for each of the classifications. And what we used for your organization after speaking with city manager and assistant city manager reviewing results, we use the 65th percentile of the market data to build your pay plan, which we'll be reviewing at the end of the slides. We did perform the FLSA testing. You'll see that on the pay plan as well. Essentially, positions starting at pay grade 4 and above, their FLSA testing brought them to be exempt from overtime. So they are exempt positions, also known as salaried positions for the organization. We will go over the pay plan based on the benchmark results that we found in the 65th percentile. And again, we'll do that at the end of the presentation. And then we did conduct a compression analysis to allot for what employees should have been making overtime based on these new salary structures and their years of service. So you'll see there will be, we'll go over, what it would take to bring employees to the new start of the pay plans that we propose, but also what compression costs would be to bring them to where they should have been, should they have been receiving increases yearly or so to keep them up to market data, as shown in the pay plan of now where your current grades are. So if we go to the review and findings, so when we reviewed your pay plan based on the market data as well, it looks like your pay plan was between the 50th and 65th percentile. Therefore, we did use the 65th percentile to construct the new pay plan. As I stated before, when we were going over the 13 agencies, several entities didn't have comparable data based on the size, so we did expand the agencies. They're a little bit larger that we use as well to be able to get useful data for this. Safety Harbor, just something to note, is also conducting a pay study. We like to note this because as different agencies conduct pay studies, it may increase what their pay plan is. And essentially, as agencies do pay study to pay study to pay study, you actually just keep ping-ponging each other to have to increase to stay within the market. So we'd just like to point out that it might be advantageous to, keep in mind that Safety Harbor also at this time was conducting a comp study, so their pay plan could be in the near future. And then positions that had limited comparables, if they only came back with a couple comparables, we did base them in a plan based on, of course, our expertise and your internal equity to ensure that they would fall in line with the other positions on the structure. A few of those that came that I wanted to just point out that have a couple things in the pay plan to discuss would be your accountant, senior mechanic, HR. We did add in an HR director and an HR generalist. Your marina and parking enforcement positions are some of the positions that came back with very limited data. So we did place them based on our expertise and internal. And all of these different positions were discussed with the city manager and assistant to the city manager. And the finance right now is in your highest pay grade, which we'll go over as a placeholder, which we'll discuss when we review the pay structure. So based on the pay plan that we are recommending, 18 employees fell below the minimum of the new starting pay range. So with that being said, in order to bring these 18 employees to the proper pay range start rate, it would cost the entity $37,667. Excuse me. Only one employee was above the maximum of a new range, so that will be highlighted. For your compression costs, so once bringing all the employees to the proper start, running for compression, so essentially, running for time, how they would have advanced in the organization, it would bring them to $89,257 total for compression cost. So the total financial impact to the city to implement, and this is including the pension, FICA, and like unemployment tax, would bring the total to $157,360 of impact. Without those extra benefits that we did go ahead and include, just to give you a real total number, it's $126,924. So with that, that amount covers 31 employees that are impacted by the study because of our proposed pay plan. So looking at this pay plan, and I apologize, it's kind of small, you'll see that your starting pay grade of pay 1 is starting at $17.68, which will range the spread to $28.99. You'll continue to see that down from pay 1, 2, and 3, all of these positions are marked as non-exempt. Therefore, they would be eligible for overtime from working their hourly rates. To scroll down to the pay grade 4, please, you'll see here this is where your exempt classifications starting with your accountant on down. And then your final pay grade, which is pay grade 8, and we can go through each pay grade, but I know it's in front of you, so I don't want to make you sit through that, but we certainly can. But your final pay grade is really going to be your highest pay grade, and that's where most of your director-like positions are held. So from your city clerk all the way down through finance director, and that top grade is going to be paying between $102,301 and change to $167,708 and change. Did you have any questions?
We're still looking at it.
I'm sorry, I could not hear that.
We are still looking at it. Sorry about that.
Perfect. Would you like to go through each grade together, or would you like to do it independently?
If there's anything you want to highlight, we would welcome that.
Sure.
But outside of that, I think we're okay.
Okay, awesome. So the only things to highlight here are, excuse me, I'm just going to pull mine up so it's a little bit bigger for me, actually. So just something I wanted to point out that I mentioned is that there's an HR director added into the pay plan, into pay grade 8. I just wanted to let you know of that. The senior mechanic, I believe, is a position that after attrition would consider being bumped down, as it's fairly high, your current salary for a senior mechanic. So that is in that pay grade 7. But we don't ever recommend lowering someone's pay through a study. So just something to consider, that would be something we would recommend moving following attrition of that position.
What would it be moved to?
Let me see in my notes here. So where it would be in the 65th percentile, let me pull that up. Let's see. Mechanic.
Is that senior mechanic exempt, Mr. Gomez, or would that person be hourly?
It's currently exempt because of the high hourly wage, but based on what was stated on attrition, it would likely go either a 3 or a 4, probably pay grade 3.
Yeah.
Yes. Here we go. So pay grade 3, based on where it benchmarked here, I just want to double check the benchmark. Yes, we would recommend it going into pay grade 3 between $47,588 to $78,013.
And will it be converted to non-exempt at that point too?
Yes. Yeah, if it goes into pay grade 3 is all non-exempt.
Correct.
All right.
If you recall, our previous pay grade had some mixed exempt and non-exempt in the same salary bands, if you will, which is, there's nothing, I mean, it's just a little odd to have it that way for clarity, but this proposed pay plan takes that away. As you can see, once pay grades 1, 2, and 3 are your hourly non-exempt, and then beginning with pay grade 4, all the way up through 8, those are your exempt or supervisory, managerial, more administrative, professional positions.
And John and Janet, when they were performing the pay study, did apply FLSA testing to ensure that the grades would be reflective of the appropriate status.
Okay.
The few other things, just to note here, is that there is one additional position. I believe it is a bus driver. That position being that, yes, recreation bus driver being the part-time. It is not in a pay grade. However, it is a non-exempt position and would receive an hourly rate of $25 per hour. But it's not slotted into a grade because it is a part-time position and therefore it's paid differently than the other grades. But I just want to point that out. It's above pay grade 1, just in case you didn't catch that right at the top there.
That's good. I was wondering why the $25 was out of, yeah, it's just off by a row. Yeah. Okay. That's it. And then that's followed by, you guys got questions? You have questions?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if, I think it's an error. It looks like in pay grade 3, it has certified permit technician in city manager's office. I think that would be community development.
I'm sorry, I don't know if that was a question for me, but I couldn't on my end.
Yeah, no, it's not, I mean, we'll correct it. I wouldn't, it should be community development. That's
Understood.
not a big issue.
Thank you.
The mechanic also doesn't list under pay grade 2, just has a 0. We'll correct that. Should be Public Works.
Okay, yes, and of course we can correct that in the file as well.
Yeah, I mean, some of them, because you have job classifications across a few departments, that's why administrative assistant, pay grade 2 does not have a department listed. It simply says general various.
Yep.
So don't look too much into the departments at this point, in other words.
They could always change. So the job assessment tool is what was provided to the employees that responded, correct?
Yes, the job assessment tool is what employees use to respond. Correct. That was sent out twice to employees.
So, Mr. Gomez, there's been a lot of work put behind this, and we definitely appreciate you being involved and spearheading it. Is there anything that we need to assist you with as far as going before the board? Because I'm sure this is a budget thing you have to address.
No,
If there's anything we
we'll
need to-
just present this and as recommendations and determine as we proceed with our budget process, how we're going to adjust the recommended positions with the new pay plan.
Okay. Did you need any of us there?
You're welcome to attend, but
Okay.
it should be, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We'll review once we have every single piece of data and then make our budget projections and discuss those with the commission and see how they want to proceed.
Any other questions?
And just to chime in there as well, once that is approved or reviewed, our team is happy to assist with any tips or recommendations that we have on how to implement it. For whatever reason it couldn't be implemented all at once, there are some strategies behind that as well. But we hope that if implementing it, all could be implemented at once, of course, to benefit all the employees. Well, all 31 of them.
And this presentation will go in front of the city commission as well. We're looking for at the May 28th commission workshop to discuss this.
Is your intentions to do all at once, Mr. Gomez?
Most likely, I don't see a reason why we would not, but we'll take another comprehensive look, but likely it could be done for the next budget year. Don't really see a reason why it couldn't, but again, we'll advise.
Got to go through budget process. Yeah. Okay.
Were there anticipated savings from implementing that plan to deal with the like unused vacation time payout thing that could be considered a way to offset?
That was already taken care
I
of.
know I'm going to mess this up because I said it wrong when we did the joint meeting. Was that sick? It wasn't sick time. What was it that we stated would after a certain date, they would be
Right,
offered.
yeah, so upon employee separation, beginning July 1, after July 1 of this year, employees will not receive a payout for any sick balances. So if an employee leaves October 1 of 2025, they have 300 hours of sick on their sick accrual on their balance, that will go to zero. The change made that's already been approved is if an employee today has 300 hours, they may cash out or receive pay for 25% of those 300 hours, so long as they submit that request prior to July 1 of 2025. So we've already had probably about a dozen that have made that request after the adoption of the personnel manual. So I'm sure there will be more. But right, the change is that upon separation going forward, sick balances will revert back to zero, which is what I'm more familiar with, and I think a lot more cities do that than pay out for sick leave. Again, sick leave was not leave historically in my 30 years. You had some employees who used it as a payout balance, and some organizations, some cities just weren't really not paying much attention. Some were, because I've worked in cities where those maximum accruals were subsequently reduced over time. I worked in a city where there was no cap for sick. So we had employees after working 30 years cashed out over 2,500 hours of sick leave. And again, but subsequently they were reduced because it's a lot of money going into the future, or potentially could be. Larger the organization, the larger the payouts could potentially be. But I've been, leave is to be used. Certainly vacation should be every year. Sick is when you become ill. If you don't, that's good fortune. We do have the ability for employees to contribute to the sick leave pool every year. I believe that's a maximum of 4 days per year, which is encouraged, but it's also good to save it in case you come down with an illness or a family member. We do comply with the Family Medical Leave Act if employees do need extended time off, and certainly employees can, we will have a sick leave pool committee that we will be creating, and employees can make a request if they are down near zero or need additional sick hours. But the whole premise of cashing it out upon separation from employment is, again, there's positives and there's drawbacks to it. So to leave it that way, I've never been a big proponent of big payouts, and I did work at a city for 19 years, and when I left, I think I had because I donated to the sick leave pool. My wife our 2 children were born. Fortunately, neither one of us had extensive illnesses. However, I left and I think I had 80 vacation hours after 19 years. So it's encouraged, obviously, particularly for vacation and floating, but again, not to be used to cash out. Again, just positives and drawbacks to that.
I guess if we had any data on like the last 5 or 10 years, like how much the cities had to set aside for these payouts when people leave to kind of offset, like, yes, we were coming forward with, we want to have this equitable pay plan to bring people up, and it's going to cost $146,000, but it'd be nice to say, but we also were rethinking this in a larger context in which we were trying to prevent this like big cash payout like on the end. So every day when they're coming to work, they're getting a fair pay, and no one feels the need or whatever that there's this. So I don't know how many people have retired in the last 5 or 10 years to be able to say, on average, the city pays X number of dollars in these payouts when people leave, and that we're trying to not offset, but we have this other 146. I might be using the wrong number, but this other amount of money now that we want to put into the budget to bring salaries into their approved range. 157.
We can certainly look at that, and I can tell you in the 3 years, nearly 5 months I've been here, we've had several retirements, including long-term, so there have been some payouts of hundreds and hundreds of hours, and we can certainly provide that. Did we budget for that? I will tell you, not really. We're fairly small. Should we have a type of fund? Probably. I mean, that's always advisable to have that, but we haven't had a significant number. Again, we have, I mean, right now I think we have 82 bodies, employees total. So, you know, and fortunately the city is in very good financial standing so far, and has been for some time, and hopefully that our goal is to continue that. So it is something that the budget can absorb. So, I mean, that's a very good question. The 157,000 in the studies, more of to make it marketable or be comparable to the 13 organizations or a combination of those 13. However, keep in mind that the city commission has been very supportive of city staff, and there have been adjustments that have been made in the last 5 years. And I can speak for the last 3 years because I've been here, and there have been some considerable adjustments in every department, even the last one really being the fire department, which was not really a part of this because they have a 3-year collective bargaining agreement, and there were some significant adjustments made to bring the members of the IAFF to a very comparable market-wise here in the county with the other 17 or 18 fire districts. So this will take us to, I would say, probably the final piece of looking comprehensively where each job classification in each department is relative to our, for lack of a better term, our competitors, our cities. As we are competing for positions, and it still is a little bit difficult to fill some positions, and we'll discuss that here shortly, but it still is a little bit of a challenge, but we are we're equal to even larger cities in terms of the salary and the pay plan and the benefits. So hopefully we're starting to get applicants, but now trying to live in the city is another matter. But I mean, even post-storm, that's kind of changed. So because we do have very few employees who live out here in the city. But other than that, I will tell you, this does bring us very close to it. We're on par with our certainly cities that they compared us to.
Yeah, I was on the low end.
The Board of Commissioners, without a doubt, is definitely taking a proactive stance in trying to make sure that employees are paid for a fair competitive wage. When you brought things to their attention, they have addressed it immediately. I mean, even as far as the contract, a collective bargaining agreement with the union, they were outside of the scope of needing to provide a pay raise to the employees, and they provided them that on top of what they would get from the collective bargaining agreement in just a few months anyway. So you're right. I think it's going to be positive because they have been proactive in trying to make sure the employees are taken care of.
And even as with benefits and the fact that we did allow the opportunity to go to the Florida retirement system, we have from my perspective, adequate holidays, making the changes that were recently made. Salary, compensation, benefits aside, there's the whole other part of obviously ensuring employees feel that they are a part of the organization. And we do emphasize and we do welcome, obviously, top down, down up participation, being involved in the daily work, and that we're not simply, all employees are, there's a hierarchy and you're only down here, you cannot participate. I think the storm has made that one, just by virtue of not having all of our facilities available. So we've had employees working very closely, literally and figuratively working very close next to one another. I think some of them may still be behind me here, but that aside, there's a whole process, as all of you are aware, to make sure that employees feel that they are, that their work is very validated, that they can contribute. They're a part of the mission, the vision, and certainly all of you and the Board of Commission has made that a priority. I've made that a priority and really will continue to do that. Yes, compensation and benefits are super important, yes, but I look at it holistically, the whole package of making sure that employees want to come to work and they don't see it as a chore or something they don't really look forward to. At least I haven't heard that's the case, but certainly any employees that do feel that way, we want to make sure that they are a part of the organization. They're involved daily, all the good stuff that makes people want to come to work.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez.
Too bad nobody is sitting behind you.
Oh, they must have.
They were sitting behind you shortly.
They would agree, I'm sure.
Okay, you guys ready to move on?
They have the sick time leave, of course, the one-time payout, but also for the vacation in the new policy to receive a one-time payout, accrued vacation until July 1st. So that takes care of all the payouts.
Yep. Okay, that's good. Thank you, Clara. All right.
Anything else from
Nope.
Gearing Group?
I don't have anything from Gary?
She's still.
I'm here.
You're good. Anything else from your end? If not,
No, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking them anything else for us. No, we're all set unless anyone had any additional questions for us. I just really appreciate your time and allowing me to present to all of you. And if no questions here, but others come up, please let us know. We'll be happy to assist.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Okay. All right, are we ready to move on to the HR report? Okay, Megan's not here, so,
Yeah, I can go over, I
okay.
can certainly answer any questions that all of you may have for Megan. So going through the agenda item on the memo in the packet, we still do have a few open positions. We've had, mainly in our community development, we had for our building official, we have an interim building official, and we've contracted with a company to provide the building official and as well as some other assistance. We're including for code compliance too. We have a vacancy and what's not listed here because this happened after actually no, it happened right about the same time. We are also hiring a planner 1 in community development. So we do have 3 vacancies in community development. And just so you're aware, community development encompasses our building function of the city. So that's the building official, the code compliance too that you see. It encompasses all the issuing of permits and all the compliance to our city building code and the state's building code. But it's under the one department of community development, which also includes all the planning, land use, zoning, et cetera. The other vacancies in public works, sanitation, for 1 worker that I know all of these positions have had interviews within the last 2 weeks, except for a building official. We do have 2 rec leader 1s, part-time in recreation, and then a marina attendant part-time and a parking enforcement part-time, all of these being replacement as employees left. What we have hired recently, as you can see on there, the grounds maintenance, the stormwater technicians, and we did hire an inspector, again, in community development that did take over one of the code compliance, but we're hoping that the inspector eventually can be a deputy or gravitate or promote to a deputy building inspector. That's a position that was previously funded, but we did take out of the fiscal 25 budget, but we are putting back into the fiscal 26 because really a deputy building official, a backup to the building official, which we had our building official retire in February, and we did not have really a line of succession for that position, but we struggled to fill the deputy building official when I arrived here and over those first 2 years. So now we're going to look to fill it. The person that we hired as an inspector has some of those qualifications, but not all. But once we get to a certain, we will open the position and advertise again. But the part of the idea is to try to have the inspector position gravitate or eventually promote into a deputy building official. There are, again, state requirements in order to be both a deputy building official and a building official.
Okay.
And then it listed some of the promotions, again, mainly within our community development department, that are listed there, really just sort of resizing and looking at all the tasks that were performed in community development pre-storm and certainly post-storm. Really the biggest being after the storms, with all the requirements that we have to comply with both the state building code and certainly the FEMA and FDEM, or the Florida Division of Emergency Management. And I know at least two of you very intimately have been involved, probably not the right choice of word, excuse me, but very involved in post-storm type work. So, and Jim, I don't know if you have been, but I haven't had the opportunity to see you or have you visit here, but you're certainly more than welcome to come in and observe.
Sure.
But, so that's why we've looked comprehensively, and we will be having that more of this discussion at our next budget workshop in May, and then again in June, as we look at our personnel budget for next year, which will incorporate the Gearing Group study. But you can see that's why we included these promoted positions to show where we're kind of going. The other projects I think that have come from some of these meetings and the Civil Service Commission's request, the safety protocols, we discussed about the study from the Gearing Group and a volunteer policy working with Mr. Eschenfelder. We'll certainly bring back complete updates on the volunteer policy. I'm not sure where that left off actually, but we can bring that back. And then the other items that have been previously discussed were the employee satisfaction survey, social media policy, phone policy, and looking at our employee application online.
The safety protocols under projects, is that the same thing we're looking at today?
I believe so. That's
Yeah.
or
I wonder if they mean, okay. All right. Because it looks like it's the same groups, the same things we're looking at, so.
yeah,
Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
I do.
Yes?
I also have an open position. It's not listed, the record specialist. It might be because it may be a promotion. Maybe that's what it is.
I'm sorry, which one?
It's my vacant position in the clerk's office.
You have a record specialist?
Record specialist.
Sorry, record specialist is also right.
Yeah, it might be.
Did we
because-
start advertising?
I think it's going to be a promotion,
Okay.
and that may be why.
And I think that, yeah, all the vacant ones are currently being promoted. And I think that's why it's not listed, because it's not currently advertised. And that's the only, Clara brings up a good point. There may be times where there are vacancies that are just not advertised. And this is the only one, but I mentioned in the time I've been here, the deputy building official was a vacancy. We did stop advertising it because we were just not getting any applicants whatsoever. So we were going to look as part of the budget what to do and how to reincorporate it. There really isn't another option for that. We have to have a backup because just to deal with all the storm components going forward. And there are specific state requirements, certifications that a building official has to have in order to issue building permits. So there definitely has to be a backup for that.
On a personal note here, not as person on the Civil Service Commission, I'm very happy to see that there's 5, potentially 6 people being promoted from within. If you have 80 people, that's significant. That's huge. Yeah. Okay.
My question was related to the building and permit office, if you feel like you have adequate number of folks to handle. I mean, I get the emails and I see how many permits have been issued, but I don't really have a sense of like how many out of how many So does the open positions and the things you just discussed with the need for the building do you feel like you have enough people, or do you need to add more positions to deal
We're
with
looking
this?
at exactly right now because we're at the point now where we have commercial properties, condo buildings, where each unit must be treated individually. And so we have some that have 200 to 300, and we're running into. So we have asked for additional. The company that we contract with currently for the building official, they have added one additional person just to review. We will likely have a second. And as we proceed, the staff is reviewing that this week. They started last week, and so we may be adding others. That's really just to bring us to catch, I guess, for lack of a better term, to catch up. Because we do have such a high, we're at a spiked volume. Eventually, it's going to level off eventually, but that might not be for another 6 months or a year. So do we bring somebody full time and then in a year that's what we're looking at. But we're certainly going to use the firm called Cap Government, and they will be providing staff because they told us last week they do have staff that they can provide. But so that's something we continue to monitor. And as we get into more field inspections, that's why we hired the individual that we hired, an inspector, came from another city. So we were fortunate to find him, but he has certifications to be able. So now we have about 4. Well, we've outsourced part of it, but now we have a full-time person that can do inspections in addition to the outsourced one. So we will probably, the building code compliance is hopefully they will be able to do inspections as well. But also the Holden Pinkard, who's listed in the promoted list, also building compliance supervisor, will be out doing inspections as well as part of that role. And then we're looking at the permit and code compliance specialist to similarly be able to do inspections, because that's the next big, as we've issued a few thousand permits, they're all going to need inspections.
I think we've had 4 already. I was just saying, I think we've had 4 already. And not delays. I was just wondering, how things were looking overall.
Okay, are we ready to move on to new business, right? Can I ask that we shift a few things around on these 4 here? Sure. So new business first starts with the City of Madeira Beach Safety and Accident Prevention Manual. That's great. The building department, I have seen. It was sent to us by an attachment through an email. And then the Municipal Marina Policies and Procedures Manual I have seen as an attachment. I unfortunately looked at the Public Works Department Policy and Procedures Manual through an attachment that was sent to me, and it's not what's in this packet. So I personally would like to put that C down as the last item, because I'm comfortable going through A, B, and D, but C I'm not comfortable going through right yet. Is that okay with you guys?
I agree.
Okay. So let's start with the Safety and Accident Prevention Manual. It's big. I don't know if everybody had a chance to read through it, but I know it's comprehensive as well. A general statement, as I looked through, say like the building department or, let me make sure I get these listed right. The building department or the marina, I saw things in there that reflected to me that were safety. Where I'm concerned is, do we have multiple locations for safety, or does there really need to be one document for safety? The other thing that I noticed on these, one of them alluded to a personnel policy. The other 3 don't. So in other words, if there's something that's contradictory in statements, personnel policy should always have precedence over any other document. And that is not listed in the other documents. So it's, and also when I look at it, the one that's actually probably the best prepared is the Safety and Accident Prevention Manual. And then there's things in a policy document that I'm like, okay, I don't know why this is here, which we need to go through for each one. So knowing what I'm going to say, which I'm going to come up to, is that there's a format that in my head that the document should have. And I don't want to dictate it's got to be this way or that way. However, if we start with the format and say we look at the safety prevention, and you say the first one's general information. Well, that needs to be section 1 in every single policy. If employee injuries is number 2, then that needs to be, and I'm saying this hypothetically, that needs to be number 2 in every policy. The two that are most close right now are the municipal and the municipal arenas and the building department. Those two are very close. It looks like they were probably written by similar people, maybe the same person. But they all start with workplace safety, day-to-day operations, medical emergency, hurricane, severe weather, and department outline. Those follow the same format. So but when you go to the public works one, it's like, okay, this is a bit all over the place, but it's got really good information in it. So starting with safety and accident, I don't have any concerns about safety and accident. I would like to add more to it from the other policies, which means we would need to go to the other policies. I don't know if you guys would like more time to review this, if you'd like time to actually look at it more in depth, and then the next time we come together, go further into this document and then say, okay, these are the things we noticed. I don't know if you guys came with thoughts beforehand or not, but if you do, I'd like to hear them. If not, we just keep moving forward. Keep moving forward.
I have some questions about that. Like who prepared these manuals and who gets these manuals? And as a second question, like I understand what you're saying with this Public Works has a safety section. So depending on the safety, like that could just be like this manual, or why do we have multiple safety manuals? But maybe you can just help me understand who drafted these and who gets these policies.
Before she says that, can I say one other thing? We don't have revisions on these documents, so we don't know when they were made, what's the highest revision of it, anything of that sort. And as we talked in developing the policy, the personnel policy, forms, things of that, like these, they need revisions, and we need a master list of revisions. So that way we're making sure that we're following some common format of looking at stuff and not reinventing the wheel for every department. Does that make sense, Mr. Gomez?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
But who makes the policies? Good question.
Each department determines their own policies and procedures for their operations. I think, as you're aware, governments are pretty unique, particularly city governments, because even as small as we are, we have 8 to 10 different industries. Recreation is totally different than issuing a building permit, totally different than approving a planned development that falls under community development, than fueling up a boat at the marina. Which one of those that I mentioned requires the most safety, is the most dangerous? Probably putting fuel in a boat. However, which one is probably the easiest? Putting fuel in a boat. It's not very complicated, but in terms of safety, there have to be procedures that the employee and employees around need to follow to ensure nothing happens when they're putting fuel into the boat. So each department writes their own policies and procedures. The ones that are in your packet with the building, the marina, I believe, and only the building one says 2023. That's the last updates, and I believe the marina was also 2023. I can tell you that fairly certain because I did request in 2023 that each department provide me and update their departmental policies, procedures, standard operating procedures, SOPs, whatever you want to call them. And so they were updated in 2023. Those are the individual department ones. The City of Madeira Beach Safety and Accident Prevention Manual, I will have to find out. That has been, this document I do not believe has been updated in the 3 years, 5 months I've been here. And I believe it was created sometime either in the late 20-teens or early 2020s, but I can find that out and we can let you know. But that manual is an overall specific to safety and ensuring employees are safe and what procedures to follow to stay safe, how to report if you see something needing attention, if an employee is injured, or if you see somebody injured, it kind of goes into the comprehensive details of that. But in terms of the others, again, those are departmental operating procedures and policies. Public Works just updated theirs, so I believe, I'm not sure if the one in the packet is it appears it's not the most updated, but because Ms. Wepfer did tell me that she just updated it very recently, and I believe she emailed it to me. I haven't had a chance to go through it and review it by myself or with staff or with her, but we will. And because it's now 2025, we're post-storm, we did update our citywide emergency operations manual as we begin the hurricane season in just over 30 days. But we will also be each department will be updating their policies and procedures. So that will be happening over the next 3 to 4 months.
So every department has one.
Yes,
So there's 3 or 4 or 5 other ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
fire departments don't work without their SOPs, and they're all bounded by between the collective bargaining agreement, the National Fire Protection Association, and other guiding principles for fire rescue. Similar to police, although we don't directly supervise police, but the sheriff's office has SOPs for everything and policies for everything. But I know our fire department does, and they do update theirs every year. So fire has that. I know parking, we have one even for parking. So every operation, community development, has their own policies and procedure. Every part of the city will have one.
Okay.
We only provided a few of the ones up here. But in terms of the safety and accident prevention manual, again, we'll take a look at that one as well. It has not been updated. But again, we need to have all of these because you do need a comprehensive one for safety citywide. But yes, each department's own policies, procedures manual will talk about safety because it's extremely, extremely important that employees are safe 100% of the time that they are here.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I need to write one.
do you have a question? You
I
were going
need
to
to
say
write
something
one
too.
from our department then. We were going by the regular.
Okay.
So every department has their own policies and procedures, which include safety. And then there's this safety manual, and then the personnel manual has safety.
Yep.
And then there's a
Yep.
citywide emergency operation manual
Yep,
as well.
that is correct.
It just seems like that's a lot of different,
Needs to be consolidated.
They're all specific to certain things.
The
Not every safety issue is an emergency. Emergency management is geared toward what? Storms, a mass casualty event. The ferry incident in Clearwater, mass casualty. It goes into the emergency side, but emergency operations are also those that you have time to plan and prepare. Storms and other things, as well as things that you don't have time to prepare, like what happened. So departments have to have departments are doing what they do every day, but employees need to know what all the protocols are. So it is perfectly normal, and it may seem probably repetitive, redundant, but I've yet to see a city that does not have what's in front of you.
Okay.
I think we would be negligent if we didn't have what's in front of you.
Okay. The personnel policy references the safety manual. It references it. It also references the personnel policies for the departments, and both of which we're supposed to review, not edit, but review and provide comments on what we think should happen with them.
So that's related to a question I had. The department policy, you said are updated, or you ask for the department heads to do them annually. Then what review happens annually above that? Or
That's internal for our operations. That's it's for me to make sure that each department has, and it hasn't been annual. The only one who really does it annually is the fire department. It's been, now that I've been here entering my 4th year, this will be the second time that they take a look at their policies and operations and update, and mainly due to post-storm because our operations changed slightly. Although we're still doing the day-to-day, there are other things that change due to the storms and that will change going forward forever. So that's why they need to be updated, but it is important.
It's left to, I mean,
It's
rightfully so, it's left to the responsibility and discretion of each department because they know, I presume,
Yes.
they know what's going on a day-to-day basis.
correct. And that's part of the administrative, the executive authority over the city being the council, the commission management form of government that we have, that the executive or administrative power lies with the city manager. So I'm responsible for all of those operations, and those operations should have these policies, procedures specific to what they do. There are multiple manuals because that's part of how one, as was just recently stated, one is specific to what employee behavior and benefits and leave and expectations, and if there's a grievance, et cetera, all of that, which is what you spent time several years reviewing and completing. There's going to be another one that only talks specific about safety. And then emergency operations, as was stated, because we're required to have that by state statute, I'm pretty sure to have. And there's some changes that the legislature is pondering.
Would the two of you humor me? Bookmark page 84 and page 135. Bookmark page 84 and page 135.
Of the personnel manual.
No, this, what we got right now, our document.
35?
84 and 135. Okay. And I'm intentionally not addressing the Public Works Department because I honestly did not review this document. It's not what I thought I was going to be looking at. But when I look at these two, all right, and this is what I'm trying to show, Mr. Gomez. When I look at these two, if you look at page 84 and look at page 85, you can see they both start with workplace, day-to-day operations with employee conduct and responsibilities, customer service, cash handling policies, which could be specific departments on cash handling. I get that. Proper fueling practices, all right? I agree it's important. I don't know if it belongs here. I'll question that. Medical emergency, I agree that they need to know what the address is if they have to call in for a medical emergency. So I think that's a very important spot. Fire emergency is in the Madeira Beach Municipal Marina, but it's not under the building department. Panic file, which talks about getting to some forms, some other stuff like that, customers, that's on the Madeira Beach, but it's not on the other, but both of these have to do with financial things, unruly customers, things of that sort. Hurricane and severe weather's in both, and the department outlines are on both, all right? So as I read down through these, I question if it's on one, why is it not in the other? Because if an employee goes from one place to the next, if they're trying to help out, if they're used to looking at something in one document, they should be able to find it in the same order in the next. So if you go to the very next page, so it'd be 85 and 136, look at workplace safety, just start right there. For page 85, all employees must read and follow the City of Madeira Beach safety guidelines. I know what they're trying to get at, but that needs to be reflected properly to what the document is. All right? Safety is a top priority. If you feel uncomfortable with any task, please discuss it with the building official before continuing. Absolutely agree. Totally get it. Observe and report any public safety concerns to the building official, and always use common sense practices. These are just straightforward. They make sense. But then go to page 136. All employees must read and follow City of Madeira Beach safety guidelines. Agreed with it? It needs to reflect what the document is they're actually talking about, though. Safety is a top priority. If you feel uncomfortable with any task, please discuss it with the arena supervisor before continuing, which is the same bullet on the second one. If there's any lightning in the area, employees should take shelter and instruct others to do so as well. I think that belongs in a safety manual, not there. Now, granted, they're using gas.
They're also outside.
I get that, but are any of your employees that are working in the building department ever outside for other, helping out, doing
Yeah, but
different.
probably not as frequently as the marina employees.
Then it makes sense to me that if it's in this, it needs to be in the other, or they both need to be in the safety manual. It doesn't make sense to have one in one spot and another not in the other. Then there's one here that I see that's be aware of inexperienced intoxicated boaters. If you feel that the public safety concern, have the dock, leave the dock and instruct others that they're, and do the same. Report this behavior to the marina supervisor immediately. Absolutely agree. That belongs in safety. If you think somebody's hazardous and they're being dangerous, get out of the way. Don't allow the public officials that should be taking care of that take care of it. You know, the safety meetings will be conducted monthly. Do not hesitate to inform a supervisor of any safety concerns. I read this, and when I think of the personnel policy and we say we'll reflect back on these, if they're not doing that, that's a problem. Does that belong there? You know, the observe and report any public safety concerns to the marina supervisor, that follows the same thing I see up on the front, on the other document, and always use common sense practices. So some of these, when I look at them, it's not that I don't think they need them. Is it in the right spot? It's, if you're going to have one in one, it needs to be reflected in all, or if it's not there, does it belong somewhere else? And I'm not
No,
trying
that's fine,
to,
and
I don't want to
we'll
make it
review
hard
that.
for them, but I'm like, it needs to be consistent.
We'll review that.
I think this might be helpful. In the personnel manual, it says, the city manager is authorized to develop and publish a Madeira Beach safety manual to provide safety policies and procedures to be used by all departments for the safety of the city employees and protection of the city property.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, and that's what the safety manual is.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
the big one is.
the safety manual, but it's not in the document here that we have. It's not called safety manual. So that's where I would be concerned. It's called the
It's called
Safety and
Safety
Accident
and
Prevention.
Accident Prevention Manual.
You should
Yes.
probably, I think that should be changed to the full name in the documents they're looking at, personally.
You mean the
I know
department, the
in- in-
department policies and
The
procedures?
first bullet, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should match. My guess is that these department policies started off with the same template, and each department annually or more frequently.
Some
or
of
less-
them, right.
Or less frequently, right? They've evolved over however many years. So they look similar or substantially the same, but they've taken different directions based on these annual reviews or other reviews as necessary.
Yep. Yeah, we'll incorporate that.
There was one for the marina I saw, and just me reading it, and it doesn't mean it's wrong, just me reading it, they're saying if there's a public emergency, secure the cash drawer first. I'm like, no. Take care of what the public emergency is first. The cash drawer is not significant when it comes down to public
Yeah,
safety.
and it depends what that would be, right?
Yeah. Like, I,
Depends on how much cash. No.
it depends how much cash, yeah. But I mean, then if you go in, I don't remember which one it was, but one of them goes in depth on doing a beginning of the day count of the till and an end of the day count of the till, and making sure you get things put into is it Curian
Right,
or
and-
Shurian?
And just to give you an idea, so the building one, again, from 2023, it's when we did accept cash. We stopped accepting cash at the end of 2024 for all building-related activities. So we no longer accept cash. So the cash part will come out of the building one when they go through the next.
Do they accept cash over at the marina still, do you know?
Yes.
They do? Okay, all right. So that's, I don't know, I mean, Mr. Gomez, they have good stuff here. There's
Yeah,
no
and as I
doubt.
said, we'll take a look at, they'll be reviewed, and it's time to do that. So this year, each department will do that, and we'll try to see, obviously, the comments that you have and try and incorporate whatever we can for simplicity, for reasonableness,
What-
obviously to make it
When should we,
something uniform.
when should we, you guys, are you, I'm going to say something here and tell me if you don't want to do this. We really shouldn't write these for those departments.
No, the departments
So-
are going to write them,
Yeah.
but based on what you have in front of you, certainly take any suggestions, recommendations
Yeah.
as you just did, and we will review them and
When-
then if
When
we-
would be realistic for us to come back and say, hey, can we look at these? again?
I would say probably September or October.
Okay. What's our next meeting close to that time? Is it October? It should be October, November, December. It's probably September.
It says,
I mean, Mr. Gomez, also, you have still got a lot going on in the city from the hurricanes. So if we said September, is that cutting it really close?
May, June, July. No, I think September is okay. September's
says
okay.
August the 5th at 4 o'clock.
August the 5th? Is that too early?
No, that's too early.
It's too early, yeah.
I would say either September or it's probably easiest just to say October. That
think
way
our-
we're in the new fiscal year and we've
I think our new
adopted the
meeting,
budget.
next meeting after that's like November or December, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whenever you want to meet.
I don't, no, it's, I mean, we could call a special meeting, but do we want to?
I think as long as they have direction to
Yeah.
not only just like briefly look at, but to go, that we discontinued, cash in certain departments. Take a hard look and let's take out the stuff that doesn't apply, add stuff that's new, 2025.
Yeah.
And if they
October
take that
14th.
seriously and do
October.
it a hard look, then.
October 14th? Okay. October 14th. And then a couple of things too. Standard format for each department.
I don't know if that's, we'll see if we can do that because again, each department is pretty different. There can be some standardization for safety, but there still are going to be some variables, some differences.
I'm not trying to say standard like in the bullet items under it or the content, but if section 1 is safety, section 1 safety on every one of them. If section 2 is cash handling's on every one of them. Even if a department doesn't have cash handling, they just make a statement, there is no cash handling. I mean, it should be common, so that way if it's being reviewed, there's some consistency in the way the format
Right,
and
but
structure is
just
set
keep
up.
in mind that these are, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but keep in mind that is operational, not under the purview of the Civil Service Commission, but we're happy to take the comments and, address them, but
I
just keep that in mind.
I get what you're saying, but I also know that if if there's ever a complaint and they go from one to the next, my perception is that if they go from, oh, this department's doing it this way, but this department's doing it this way, but I was in this department before and now I'm confused about which one I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, they have to follow the one that's in their department,
I get that.
and we go through that with
But
each employee.
I
but-
get that, but what are they,
But we'll-
what are they gonna say? I didn't see it in this section. I wasn't looking for it before. It was in this section, not here. So what I'm trying to do is say, if they can be in a common format, it would really
We'll
help.
try, yeah, we'll discuss that and see, make every effort to do that.
Am I wrong about that? Come back to it in October
October 14th.
14th? Is that
Yeah, that
okay?
gives us enough time.
Realistic?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can we put that on the agenda to return to the personnel policies, departmental policies on October 14th?
October 14th.
Okay. Does anyone else, do you guys have stuff you want to add? Because I realize I kind of
You
covered
still gonna
stuff
meet
there.
on the August the 5th?
I-
Are we still meeting on August the 5th?
I believe we are, but it's too soon for this. It's too soon for this, because
No, I know.
this is a big ask. It is a big ask, and I get that.
Well, no, I mean, we have to do, we have started to do this and we will continue through the spring and the summer because it has to be, again, has to be done. We have a new personnel manual and post-storm and changes to the emergency operations, so it's important that each department update theirs, and there have been some changes as you discussed.
Okay.
Just because I'm here looking at it, page 137 in the municipal marina one, that bullet about all $20 bills, 20 and up, blah, 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 might be fraudulent, blah, blah, blah. It says if you tell them you don't feel comfortable with the authenticity and will not accept it, it should be,
Yeah, they got the wrong word on there.
Accepted.
I also was like, I guess they are accepting it.
Yeah,
right?
it's an
They're not
exception.
taking it. But did you say they're no longer going to take cash?
No, the marina still is, it's, in my world, we would be totally cashless. It's 2025. You have
Everybody uses their watch or their.
stadiums that are cashless. You go to certain venues, they're totally cashless. we still have a segment with, there is still an industry that still relies on a lot of cash.
Yeah.
And so the marina is one of them. People who boat, people who fish, still use a lot of cash. So it's a culture shift. And we started with just a small step at one of the events that we held recently that's been held every year, the Great American Grunt Hunt, where we started using the pay stations that we have, they're handhelds. And we had more than half of the proceeds. Now, granted, there were three things you could buy, essentially two things you could buy, shirts, hats, or beverages. But we had about 60% of the collections were credit-based versus cash. So again, it should be 100%, but you still have a lot of people that they just still carry a lot of cash.
We'll get there. I
Yeah,
predicted
we'll
two
get
years
there.
it will be there.
And that's really the only one in the marina. The rest of the city, I'm pretty sure we will go cashless. It would be great if we could do it even at our events. I think we're getting closer to doing that. But there's still that. But yeah.
Need Wi-Fi.
I'm just seeing that and thinking like, I don't know. Can you reject cash if
Yes.
you take cash?
Yes.
You can?
So people, interesting question. I did spend 19 years as an auditor. So number of counterfeit bills that I caught, 3. People are like, well, that's not very many. No, that isn't very many. I wish it was 0, but there were 3. I don't know if you're aware, every bill from a $10 bill higher has one security feature. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's never been counterfeited. So according to the Secret Service, but they're not going to release all the information regarding it. But there's so many security features on bills, it is kind of tough to counterfeit it. If you ever see anybody using a pen, that only tells you that it's the real paper that the Bureau of Engraving and Printing uses. Some counterfeiters have gotten very good that they've been able to wash out and then overlay different denominations. So a 5 became a 50, a 10 became 100.
So they're using the linen.
So when you use the pen, oh yeah, it's a real bill, because it is. It's the actual bill, but the denomination is incorrect. What should have been a 5, you took as a 50. Somebody bought $5 worth, you just gave away $45. Not a gigantic amount of money, but I'm surprised how many people still try to counterfeit. It's amazing that people are still trying to do it in 2025.
Cybercrime is much easier these
It's
days.
much easier. White collar crime is much, much easier. But either way. But because we're still accepting the cash, we're getting rid of, we didn't, but the information building at Johns Pass Village, we're going to take over that building. We were previously leasing it to one of the chambers. That the storm kind of damaged the building. It's been repaired, but there was an ATM machine in there. We're not replacing the ATM machine. For one, there are other businesses that have ATM machines, and I would prefer that they deal with the cash. We had an ATM machine at the marina, but we ran into an issue with the vendor. So when it was brought to my attention, this is several months ago, we'd like to replace it, but we can save a little bit of money if we do it. So sounds good. Guess what my first question was? Why do we need an ATM machine in the first place? Because it's cash. Well, what I said a few moments ago, in that industry, people still use a lot of, there's still a big percentage of people who prefer to use cash. So we're going to try it. So we have an ATM at the marina like we did before. But we'll take a look over the next year and try to do that. But there's always the liability with cash. And it's not that an employee, there's an opportunity for some of that to walk away. I can tell you the number of, in my career, we have had to terminate 5 employees because they took advantage of, they were very clever, but took advantage of a tiny lack of a control and took the opportunity. And in one particular city, one employee stole over $10,000 over a period of 2 years. In the same city, well, I kind of gave it away. After I left, an employee was caught that had stolen over $100,000 in cash. But it was a whole scheme that got several people. So can it happen? Yes. So Can it happen with a credit card? Yes, but it is a lot more difficult for an employee to steal using a credit card.
Yep.
So, way much more than you probably need to know about cash handling.
Claire?
I got a question. I was at an event one day, Robin, that you put you put your change in cash in this machine, and it gave a little card that you actually bought stuff with. And the game room on Seminole has something like that.
I'm actually using my watch for everything. I can't imagine why anyone wants to carry cash. Like, it's
Just going to steal your watch instead of stealing your cash.
Yeah.
I will tell that recently I've had more people, and then I thought of it as well. I'm like, I would carry cash. The only time that I really use it is to leave a tip. So I'm still a little bit of the mindset that I prefer to leave at a restaurant for some reason to leave the cash versus, but now anywhere you go, I was at the market today. Well, actually, I didn't buy anything today, but I was at the market last week where I bought the lemonade, and, they turned the thing around and you could, leave it. You have to go through the questions.
Yeah.
And, I'm thinking, but that's the only reason that I really was using cash was to leave a tip, but no different than just putting it on a card. It's just.
Okay. Any other questions on the new business? No? You ready to go to old business, which is future agenda items and progress report, very last page of the document. All right. So item A, we've addressed. We're going to revisit that on October 14th. All right. Employee satisfaction surveys. I know that it was Megan, right? It was Megan said she was going to
Yeah, we're going to issue one then,
Yeah.
hopefully in this month in May.
Separation survey was another thing that was discussed. HR director position, I know the reason this is on here is because in past, and I know you're trying to do stuff the right way, and I don't want to question it. But in the past, the Board of Commissioners had requested that position be added into the system. And then there's other questions that have been brought up which haven't been properly addressed by me or us as a group, but I don't think we're at a point to even cover it. The reality is if we're going through and we're doing this item D that's down on the bottom, which I don't think it belongs there, that's where we can find out and look at, are we really implementing our rules, the regulations and stuff properly? I don't know why that's in the completed section. I don't remember stating that was done.
I did that for the
Uh-huh.
progress report. Remember the report we were talking about at the last meeting? It was just to show what you have completed that session.
Item D, though?
It got approved. That's all that was for.
All right, so it's not the way I'm reading it then?
Okay.
Okay.
Specifically asking how will, now that there is a completed and adopted personnel manual, how are we determining whether that is being followed or not?
On a day-to-day, ongoing basis.
Right.
I don't think we're ready to even figure that out yet.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know
in
if you
here.
guys are, but I think we need to get through.
Well, I will tell you that right off the bat, it's incumbent on every single department head has to ensure that it's being followed. I think where you're gravitating to is, do we need an HR director or some specific HR position to do that? We can certainly do that. I don't have any objection to that. That would be an additional position in the budget. And as long as the Board of Commission wants to do that, I don't have any objection. I will say we previously had a part-time HR director. Realistically, their time began to be less and less and less. There was less for them to do. Pretty much what's been happening since I've been here is pretty much just what was reported, what Megan reports every time you meet, the onboarding, the offboarding, et cetera. But in terms of the personnel manual, it is incumbent up to each department. Now, whether you want to go into a different HR direction, do we need to have trainings or more trainings on FMLA or, diversity training? I think that's a dirty word now, or other things. Do we need
Harassment, retaliation.
Do we need to have other things? Because that's typically what HR, because we are so small, But I'm open to however the direction you would like us to go, and we can certainly look at hiring an HR director. I don't know, I don't see that as a full-time position, but
I
So,
think,
and I apologize because I'm probably lacking the historical background on this, but I thought when we went through the salary analysis that we just did earlier, the HR director position is slotted in there. I thought that meant that that decision had been made to hire, but it sounds like no, that it's in there and that salary set if in the event we do.
because it's been discussed, so I
Okay,
asked them to
okay.
include it in there.
So, but I mistakenly took that as that was going to be done. But now I know now I know that's
No,
still
we can certainly, I mean, again, if that's how the board would like us to proceed and that's how you would like us to proceed, we can certainly do that. Now, keep in mind that HR director does report to the city manager.
yeah, I,
Yeah.
me personally, I would, and it's up to this group, not just me, I would like to get clarification from the Board of Commissioners, because it's really their choice. It's not, I mean,
Well, you can make that as a suggestion, I mean, based on,
I would suggest that we review it with the Board of Commissioners and ask them what is their direction on it. That's, because it has been a past issue that was stated that it should be there. I don't,
So right now, is there any position, so there's no human resource generalist official position either?
no, we don't have, no, the HR functions when the previous director left were transferred to Megan Powers, to the assistant to the city
Understood,
manager.
but again, this is just me catching up. Right now, there's no title of an active employee that has human resources in the title.
that's correct.
Okay.
And
And also, so you're aware, the city code of ordinances actually lists the actual city departments. So HR is listed on there. We do fund an HR department. It is just currently not staffed. It has FTE of 0. And it's been that way for a couple of years, since the previous part-time. So in prior years, there was 0.5 of an FTE as an HR director. But again, and even when that individual left, or a couple of months before he left, he told me, he goes, you really don't need, you could have somebody else do these functions because they're not very high level. And that's a reason why we went to the current process.
And this is just me, and maybe this is the employment attorney. I don't care who, Megan or otherwise, or how many people are absorbing the duties. It would be, I think from an appearance standpoint, outward to the public and also internal, that somebody's title has human resources. I don't care, part-time, full-time, generalist, HR. I don't know that we're big enough to necessarily have, a higher level HR director, but HR something, in my opinion, needs to be in somebody's title just to show that we have, that someone, and yes, there are several, you included, right, or covering those functions, but I think it would be nice in some title, just from a legal.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
you thought it
I
was?
I think it is in her title, and it's mentioned in the minutes on page 3, right? Isn't that her title? Doesn't it include HR in her title
Yes.
now? Yeah.
Yeah, those duties were transferred to her
Yeah.
when the previous HR person did leave the city.
Okay, so it's assistant to city manager / HR staff. That's her current title.
No, her job classification is assistant to the city manager, but the
She is-
duties and responsibilities include HR.
Not a title.
Okay.
I know.
Is that what you? I mean, is that what you were getting to?
Yeah, but the HR director, I agree with you. When you shared information with me in the past, and this has probably been well over a year, could be closer to 2 years, Mr. Gomez. And I looked at the time that the HR director was here. Part-time, it was really part-time. Might have been 20 hours a week at most.
And then
And
in the
let's be
end, it was
generous.
less than that.
Yeah, but I do know what the Board of Commissioners had asked in the past. I'm not saying current. So 3 things I can think of. 1, hire an HR director. 2, do an interlocal agreement similar to what we do with the library and the fire department. Do an interlocal agreement, have another city help us manage it if that's the case, because we don't have enough time to keep one person busy. Or 3, let it go. I mean, we can't tell him, and we should never tell you what you've got to hire. But I do know what the board asked at one point. So me personally, I would like to ask the board, what is the direction that they want? That,
I would say that because the city manager is managing the city and all the departments, that it would be good to have an arrangement that the city manager feels works. Having been on this commission now for a couple of years and seeing the reports and what it was before, like now that Megan is doing it, it just feels like she's got it all under control. We're getting good reports. Because I don't think we do have enough for like a full-time HR manager work. It probably is part-time, but who are we going to get to be that kind of person on a part-time basis and ensure high-quality devotion to the city that it needs? It seems like it's running really well, so I hate to be like, if it's not broke, why do we want to fix it? But maybe to do some of these additional things, I mean, she's only one person, maybe we do hire, because one of the recommendations was to hire like generalist or someone. So if it's not a 0 FTE, but there's a part-time person coming in, like in an HR department, that she works with the city manager and then supervises that person who does the additional work that needs to be done, maybe. But it seems like, and I also don't know how Megan would feel like if she was doing this good job and then all of a sudden we're like, no, we're going to take that away from you and give it to this other, you know what I mean? So I just feel like it seems like the current arrangement's working well. Maybe it could be hints with other staff, but like, you know, I would defer to Mr. Gomez if what he thinks is going to be the best way to handle HR in the city. And if he feels like Megan's doing a good job, maybe she could use some extra help. I would hate to go back to what we had before, which was the part-time HR director, because that just didn't seem, I feel like I was here for a couple of different people shuffling through that position, at least 2 since I've been here. So I just don't know how that's a good long-term strategy.
you're saying more of a generalist than somebody that could work alongside Megan to help her get that stuff done so she can do her other duties
Other
as well.
duties as well, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be my suggestion, but again, I'd like to hear what Mr. Gomez thinks about the long-term trajectory.
Well, and I think I need to get also in my one-on-ones with the commission to get their thoughts on it as well. Again, in the last couple of budget cycles, this is, as I explained HR, as you just did pretty much, and there was really no desire to make a significant change. But again, I'll have that conversation with each one of them and incorporate your comments, and we'll go and see what they want to do, because it is a budget issue, because it would be either an additional part-time or hours, et cetera. So it was really, I think the last year we spent, if I recall, I mean, I'd probably look it up, at about $50,000 just on the part-time for the whole year. And we felt all I did was adjust essentially Megan's salary to less than half of that to incorporate be able to accomplish those duties. So it was a little bit of a cost savings to do that, because it really wasn't even really a 20-hour a week, or let alone close to that in the end. But we do have, we can go back and look at the number of hours. But again, the individual, as he was leaving, he goes, I really think this, you don't need somebody to be doing this, likely can be handled by someone else. But certainly we'll review it and then how it goes in the budget.
Or, yeah. Does payroll fall underneath human resources too then?
No, payrolls and finance. I mean, there's a related, because the onboarding and the offboarding. So HR advertises, coordinates interviews, coordinates applications, performs all the background, and then upon issues the job offer, the letter, and then enters into the payroll system the person who is hired. But then that's everything after that then goes into the actual processing of the payroll is a finance function, a finance department function.
Okay. So as we look through these future discussion items, it looks like B, C, and definitely F will be Megan's. So
Yes.
the new job description format, that'll be coming from Gehring, right?
Yes.
Okay, and when should we expect that? Because we didn't ask that during the conference. I didn't even think about that.
I'm sure after they give the presentation on the 28th of May.
Yeah.
we'll get a final from them.
And they're doing all of the job descriptions, correct? As far as putting them into a format?
I will check with them.
Okay. The appeal form, the city's appeal form, that was, I know this is part of the personnel policy, but I can't remember if there's a form that's actually created
Is
yet.
this
I
the
don't remember.
appeal from a discipline or discharge? What?
Yes,
Okay.
that. Yeah. So I don't know who's handling that. Is that going to be a Megan?
So you can turn it to Rob,
Rob?
since he's not here. I'll get with Megan and we'll see who should be handling.
I'm writing Rob down.
And you were looking, I guess, a form for, and I thought there was, for when an employee files
What wasn't a grievance, but is now an appeal.
an appeal.
Which is what will go before a magistrate, not anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. There's supposed to be a form for that. I know that's in the personnel policy, that there's a form. I don't know. Does anybody got questions?
I'm wondering if you think there's enough agenda items for the August 5th meeting, or we just meet next on October 14th to include the safety manuals in these forms?
I think what do you think?
It sounds like we're not going to be able to finalize anything as of August, but whether we meet again or not, I guess depends on
Mr.
what
Gomez,
might come up between now and then.
should we keep the August?
I think keep it for now, and then as we can update you on the progress, and
If we need to cancel it, how much in advance do we need to cancel
just
it?
need really a few days, but a week would be best.
At least 2. I mean, I have to publish a
2
week
weeks.
before.
Yeah.
So if by, say, I
End
don't
of
have a calendar, say like July 20th. I don't know, I don't have anything in front of me.
I'm sorry, the meeting was scheduled for August
5th.
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 July 22nd.
So July 22nd, if we don't have anything that is urgent to address by that point,
Well, yeah, we'll advise.
so that'd be July 22nd, we'll make a determination for August 5th. But we'll definitely meet on October 14th to review these. Do you think, because it's October 14th, do you think we could try and get these documents by the beginning of October, end of September?
I think we'll get them to you several weeks prior.
Because that would
Yeah,
help
by
us so we
September.
could look, yeah. Because it sounds to me as if that's going to be the bulk of what we're going to discuss in the next meeting, correct?
Yep. And just to clarify, but the safety and accident prevention manual is ready for us to
That is,
review, redline, I mean, which I've already started, but, or done.
should we do
But
that?
we're not I just wanted to make sure we're not waiting on any new version or update.
If you're saying that you're wanting, did you say that you wanted to
You're
go
talking
over
about
the
department.
safety manual? You guys wanted to?
Yeah, we're going to review it as well, because it hasn't been
okay.
updated in the time I've been here.
And that's the one that says it's be published. The the Madeira Beach Safety Manual.
Should we provide him the feedback on that at this point before he begins?
That was my question. If it matters, we could probably simultaneously review it, but I just wanted to be clear on whether I'm personally waiting or if I should redline it. I guess my question
That might
was
be a good
just,
thing to review at the August meeting.
Sounds like it. August would be this, the safety
Yeah.
and accident prevention manual? Okay, so keep August? Okay.
And that's Tuesday, August 5th at 4 PM.
4 PM. And the item we intend to address is the safety and accident. Is there any of your departments you'd like to have review it so we get information for them too, so we're not like going back and forth and constantly, so we can just try and get it all together at one point?
We'll bring it. We'll share with you just some suggested changes.
Okay.
Do that at that meeting.
Is that good for you? that good for you?
So just so I'm clear, are we reviewing this and giving feedback before August 5th? Or we're going to get their revised version on August 5th and review a new version on August 5th?
That's up to you guys. I was okay, but he's a lawyer, so he knows more than I do.
Well, what I was interpreting as we were just kind of bantering about this is that we would bring our red lines to the August 5th, and then we'd also receive whatever recommendations.
You'd get them several weeks prior.
And then review ours and theirs and, or whatever we had at that point.
Okay.
I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, that's, well, that, yeah, me too, which is what started this, but that makes sense to me as we bring our red lines questions and we also review whatever's been redlined, recommended by.
I'm good with that. You good with that? Mr. Gomez, is there anything you need us to think of that we have not thought of?
No, I think we covered quite a bit.
All right.
Thank you.
Any miracles or problems you want us to solve?
No, not yet.
Yeah, no hurricanes. That's all we're voting for.
Praying
right
for
now.
no more
hurricanes. We've had enough this last
Duly
year.
prayer.
Everything's good? Any other concerns from you, Dr. McLaughlin? Any concerns from you? Nope. Clara?
No.
No. Mr. Gomez?
No, thank you.
Okay, it is 5:47. We are adjourned.